a little about myself. I'm not from anywhere exotic, but I'm from Quincy, Massachusetts. And if any of you don't know that town, it is basically a white trash mecca of Massachusetts. It's the type of town where if you've lived there longer than 5 years after you've graduated high school, they send you a free gram of heroin with your census bureau. I used to refer to my high school as a failure faucet, because on graduation day, they just turned that on and flooded the streets with degenerates and the future homeless. It's so awkward being in your adult life, walking around Boston and hearing, "Got any change?" You're like, "Oh, Fitzy from 10th grade algebra? How you been, man?" Apparently not good. As to the question, do I have any change? Yes, tons, but I have coin-operated laundry, so none of it's free. It's $1.25 per load, that's a lot. Summer entertainment in that town was spent sitting in the back of my stepfather's pickup truck and watching the projects at the bottom of my street battle. You would come outside, find your friend sitting in my stepdad's truck drinking a juice box, and I'd be like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Well, George cheated on Martha again, and now she's got the high ground with a broken lamp. I got $5 on George getting stitches. You want in on this action?" Slide me an ecto cooler. Let's make an afternoon out of this. Yeah, that became a little too commonplace. One night I was asleep in my bedroom and I hear the sounds of the neighbors just screaming at each other. So I run to the window for full-blown entertainment. And unfortunately, when I look out the window, what I see is my mom and my stepfather screaming at the neighbors, to which my stepfather pulls out a giant John Rambo Bowie knife and goes, "I will cut your fucking head off." Now I know the drill. Back to sleep, Jesse. I wake up the next morning, no mention of anything that happened the night before, and no mention of what happened to those neighbors. Everyone would turn out to watch these fights, everyone except the police, because nobody called them. We were white trash, that was our WWF, and no one's waking the referee up. When the referee gets knocked out in a wrestling match, you're like, "Yes, they're going to use the chair." No one wakes him up to be like, "He's got a chair." I like having a life like that. People who have just a little bit of chaos in their past, they're more interesting. I dated a normal girl for a little bit. It didn't work out. Her biggest family worries were that her grandmother was going to cut her family off for the inheritance because they voted for Obama. Listen, that's a boring problem. My family worries were needing to learn how to drive stick shift at age 10 because I was DD at the family Christmas party. Although I am starting to get concerned now that I'm getting a little older because a couple of weeks ago I talked so honestly to a stripper that we became Facebook friends. That's not good. Anyone can get the number that they're just "Call me," and it's just straight to voicemail. No. My news feed is filled with baby pictures and family members. I'm like, "Oh God, it's not a trick. Is this who I relate to?" But I never had a chance at relating to normal people, or ever having a normal relationship. And I remember the moment where I figured that out. And it was the night my mom and my stepfather got divorced. I'll remember this clearly. I was asleep at my friend's house, and I get woken up by a phone call from my stepfather. And he is drunk as shit. I answer the phone, and he's like, "I need you to come bail me out from the police station." I'm like, "Oh yeah, this Thursday." Or "Quick question, where's my mom?" And he goes, "Hurry up," and hangs up on me, which was family code for "she's here too." So I drive down to the police station, and the cop's sitting behind this this plexiglass window you would order movie tickets from. And I slide on the bail money, and he looks at me and he goes, "So where's he gonna sleep tonight?" I'm like, "Come on, Mike, you know where we live." And he's like, "No, you don't understand. It was a domestic call." And I'm like, "Oh, well then he can go fuck himself." And I really, I went to leave, and I wanted that action hero moment where I said a badass line and ended on that period. But I still had to take my bail back. So I said that, and then spent 5 minutes with 2 fingers under the glass trying to slide each bail back. The whole time I feel the cop judging my life and feeling bad for me, and I'm just like, "It's my life and I'm over it, what's your problem?" So I leave the police station and I get in touch with my mom and I'm like, hey, where are you? It's kind of a crazy night. And she's like, oh, I'm at a motel. And so I meet her at the motel, and what I walk into is this scene. My brother is sitting on the floor playing PlayStation, and he sees me walk through the door, looks up and smiles and goes, we got a new one. And out of the darkness, this man stands up and goes, hi, I'm Dan, your mom's new boyfriend. I'm like, oh, good, great. I do not stand a chance. I'm probably gonna have to go to strip clubs, not for boobs, but for conversations with people who can relate to my damage. Because in being friends with that stripper, I learned that stripping and stand-up comedy, not that far off. Like, listen, it takes a fair amount of damage to do it well. You're generally performing in front of people who are drinking and may want to yell shit at you, which is not cool. The only difference is, like, they're physically naked, we're moderately emotionally naked. Like, if you don't like a stripper, she's gonna go home, put a sweater on, and have a good cry. If you really don't like a comic, there's a good chance we're gonna go home and ruin a roommate's belt. That's a hanging joke. But being from Quincy, the #1 concern in Quincy is drug addiction. And I've had friends and family that have had that problem, but thankfully I don't. But I do drugs to spite people, and that's a problem. Like, first time I ever smoked weed was because I was dating a really Christian girl. And I thought, oh, I'll really show her and get high. That's a good response. A few years later, dating a girl who doesn't have a problem with weed, which I took advantage of when we broke up by then trying coke for the first time. Now, I need to break this cycle because this Christmas, my mom didn't call me, so I spite snorted an oxycodone. Yeah, I Quincy'd the fuck up. But here's the thing, I am terrified of becoming a drug addict, so I drove to my hometown to take part in the most pathetic drug deal that anyone has ever seen. You have never seen condescension in a man's eyes until you've sat across the table from someone who sells hard narcotics as a full-time job and say, I'll have one. All right, thank you guys.
More people come in. Do you want to tell the MIT joke?